Hello, this is a broadcast from Xinhua News Agency. My name is Ruth Wangara, an English correspondent in the Africa Regional Bureau in Kenya. Now, behind me is the port of Mombasa. It is the only seaport in Kenya and the largest one in East Africa. This port serves many of the landlocked countries, and its hinterland actually extends all the way to Uganda. Also, other countries that are landlocked that heavily depend on this port are such as Rwanda, Eastern Congo, and all these ones, most of their imports come through this port. We are joined by some of the officials of the Kenya Ports Authority, which is in charge of running this port. Now we will be speaking to Mr. Masemo, who will give us a short history of this port. Please give us a small introduction of yourself and a small history of this port.
My names are Haji Masemo. I'm the Principal Corporate Communications Officer. The history of this port, or the port of Mombasa, dates back to the 16th, 14th century, when the people who were trading in dhows used to come in search of spices and the route to the Far East. And then we used to use the old port. But the major port that we are seeing today started in 1896, when the Kenya-Uganda railway construction was mooted. So there was need for an area where you can actually offload the railway construction materials. And from that time, the railway line reached Kampala in 1903. And that heralded the development of the port of Mombasa. Today, we have a port that has 21 berths, which means we can keep 21 vessels at a go. And as you can see, another railway line has come in again to boost the operations of the port of Mombasa. So the port we are seeing today, from around 1903, we constructed berth number 1 to berth number 14. So by 1963, when Kenya became a republic, we actually had up to number 14. And then the advent of containerization necessitated the construction of the first container terminal berth in 1980. So today, after that, now we have done berth number 19 to support that, and we have done the second container terminal, which has berth number 20 and 21. And now we are boasting of one of the biggest ports, like you can see, handling of 1 million containers. Last year we did 1.2 million TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent container units here. And this is in and out. And this port, as you are aware, is serving Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Northern Tanzania. And we are serving these countries very well, and we are now expanding. So next time you come here, you will find that this water here, part of it has been reclaimed to add up to berth number 22 and number 23. And on the side, the land you're seeing on that side, this is what we popularly call Dongokundu, which we are going to construct a port to have a free port zone. And that will have what we call the special economic zone that is coming in the next few years.
So where do most of these goods come from? Which countries are these goods or other commodities imported from?
The biggest trading blocks today is China and the Asia, basically. And then we have America and the Europe. So most of these cargoes are coming from there. And they are going either into Kenya or into the hinterland. Kenya here accounts for 70% of the cargo that comes in. And 30% goes to the landlocked countries or land-linked countries.
Thank you very much. You have heard a bit of the history of the port of Mombasa from the authorities themselves. Now, since the SGR was launched in May 31st in 2017, it has opened up the regions by effectively revolutionizing the transport system. The transport system has become so much better since the standard gauge railway was built. The passenger train itself has greatly improved the transportation system between the capital city of Nairobi and the port city of Mombasa. According to the Kenya Railways, which has been running the SGR operations together with the China Road and Bridges, more than 1.2 million people or rather passengers, have used the SGR train since it was launched 1 year ago. And although there were some challenges that were experienced during the SGR operations, such as the booking of tickets, all that has been lined out, and in fact, the services continue to be improved every day. Now, the passengers can actually be able to book the tickets through their mobile phones using a mobile app that was launched within the first 1 year. Also, traveling the SGR, most of the passengers that we have interviewed over the time have said that there is indeed a very big difference between the old meter train that used to take up to 24 hours moving just from the Nairobi city to Mombasa city, and now it only takes about 4.5 hours. Also, they have introduced inter-county trains that help traverse through all the counties, about 7 counties of the major towns, such as Voi, Emali, Mtito Wande, amongst others. All this has contributed to a big transportation improvement in the country. Also, besides the transportation, the SGR has provided opportunities from the construction stage. More than 30,000 Kenyans were able to get jobs directly and indirectly, which has obviously improved their lives and obviously improved the economy of Kenya. Also, the Kenya Railways told us that since the SGR was launched, it has trained about 1,600 professionals, with some of them having a chance to travel to China to get it straight from the horse's mouth, rather to get directly the transfer skills. And now we're going to be joined by yet another authority in charge of the cargo handling. He's going to do a small introduction of himself and take us through the impact of the SGR freight cargo. Please introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Patrick Macau. I'm the Principal Operations Officer here at the Container Operations. I'm directly involved with the operations, the planning, and the loading, the offtake of cargo targeted for SGR. Basically, we get this prior information before the vessel arrives. We are able to put everything in place in terms of ensuring that we capture the containers as hook into the wagons, and then we are also having areas, buffer areas where we keep stock. This is done simply due to the fact that we have targets which I would say confidently we have been meeting. We started with the 3 trains. We graduated to 5. Today we are doing 7 trains with a total of 108 per train. So in 24 hours that will translate to 756 TEUs. We even want to move on to 12 trains up to the end of the year. So again, we are targeting the TBL and the non-TBL containers because basically cargo which is moving by SGR is local containers, and 80% of the containers which are consumed locally are consumed in Nairobi and beyond. So I would again confidently say that we are able to meet the targets for the SGR. We've put a proper mechanism in place. So far, since the beginning of the year, we've done 753 trains. The total imports is 73,975 TEUs. So we've actually done quite well, and we have been able to meet the targets and even surpassed which have been set by the government. We are supporting SGR, and we are looking forward so that up to the end of the year, then we are able to achieve the 12 trains, which actually we've planned to achieve.
Okay, sir. I'm just wondering, maybe some people are not, and maybe watching this broadcast, are not familiar with the port terms such as TEUs and TBLs. Would you just briefly explain what that means so that we can go ahead with the broadcast?
Thank you. TEUs actually is a measure of unit in this industry. It means 20 equivalent units. We normally have a 20 feet and a 40 feet container. So one 20 feet container is 1 TU. So for a 40 feet container, those are 2 TUs. But there will remain 2 units. So actually that it means. TBLs means a through bill of lading. These are containers which are destined to be cleared in ICD Nairobi. So right from the port of loading. And then we have the non-TBL, which again are containers which are meant to be cleared here at the port of Mombasa. But since the consignee in Nairobi, they are transported through SGR.
Okay, thank you for that. Perhaps you can tell us, since the inception of the SGR freight trains, how has the operations, the general operations, if you compare before what you did and what you have now, maybe in terms of transportation and moving of I remember there was that complaint about the congestion in the port. Maybe now you can tell us if it has become better or there is no change.
The operations of the introduction of the operations of the SGR, I would say, have actually transformed our operations deliveries in terms of numbers, because as I've said earlier, we are able to evacuate in 24 hours 756 TUs through the road, through the rail, compared to the meter gauge, where we would actually do between 40 and 60 TUs. So that is a very big percentage, because these are containers which are moved at a go. The other thing is the duration, the time taken. Of course, SGR is quite faster. It takes only 4 hours compared to like the road and even the meter gauge, where now time taken is substantially longer. So in terms of evacuation, I would say confidently that it has improved the offtake and therefore opened the port. Our operations now are smooth, and as we go, as we achieve the higher number of trains, as I've mentioned before, then we expect also the efficiency of the port to be improved.
Okay. Now that you have already felt the impact of the SGR yourself, would you say that the other countries that are dependent on Kenya for their imports, beg your pardon, have felt this, or have they communicated that to you?
Thank you very much for the question. Currently, we also have transit consignments on request, which have started moving with the SGR. And we are looking forward for our landlord partner states to start using the SGR very soon because of the advantages as mentioned. So it's true that we are also targeting the transit consignments. Most of the importers here in Kenya, they are really appreciating the introduction of the SGR because, for example, the big importers, they are able now to collect their boxes in large quantities through this program. Again, the transportation by SGR, as I've said earlier, is faster, so consignments will be reaching the companies or the areas where they are required, and this will make a continuation of the operations of businesses or companies whenever these consignments will be used.
This has been dubbed and goes on record as Kenya's biggest infrastructure for a long time now. In fact, in some places, the SGR has been called the project of the century. So how would you say, I'm sure it has not all been smooth, just as with any other project. What would you say are the challenges that you have faced since you launched?
We've had challenges like any other new project. Because as you are aware that previously we had the meter gauge and the quantities, the containers which were being transferred in terms of numbers were fewer. So we had to move very fast as a port because we are actually the people who are carrying out the operations in terms of ensuring that we have enough resources. We had to buy new equipment, the loading equipment here at the port of Mombasa. The other challenge actually was at the area of destination, the ICD, because this is an area which had to be expanded again, and a lot of resources had to be pumped. If there is a shift of business from one point to the other, definitely most clients would feel inconvenienced and would be reluctant for a start, because there is change of the traditional way of doing things. This has been a challenge, and we have been sensitizing our clients both in Nairobi and beyond to appreciate and see the advantages. And we are happy to say that we've started now seeing the fruits of it. A lot of clients now are responding. We are seeing more companies now opting to use the SGR, and as I've said, this is even going to extend to the transit countries.
So, besides the road transport, how would you say the introduction of the cargo freight trains has impacted other parts of trade?
In terms of for example, the manufacturing, as I've said, we are still importing a lot of, items from outside. Businesses definitely are taking advantage. We also have the issue of employment, and generally for the economy of the country and also the neighboring, because if now we are efficient, then remember the port of Mombasa is also facing competition. We have Dar es Salaam, we have also Djibouti, even up to Durban. So if we are able to perform efficiently, if cargo is able to move faster from the port of Mombasa to our neighboring countries, then it means we are attracting more business through SGR. And of course, that is money, that is revenue which is being generated for the country. So basically, it's both locally and also outside the borders, where now we are seeing, businesses and growth coming alongside with the SGR.
Okay. China has become Africa, or rather Kenya's largest trading partner, and we are doing a lot of things with them. All of that falls under the One Belt, One Road initiative. What would you, just giving your personal opinion, what is your comments about the China-Africa, rather, or the Kenya-China cooperation?
I've seen a lot of projects coming from the government of China, a lot of developments, as you have put it, the roads, the railway. We have also some other, civil works. And to me, this is very encouraging. Kenya being a growing country, I think we need to encourage that, and that also brings a lot of cooperation. And this investment actually is transforming the economy of this country. I think we only need to be keen on maybe the terms which come along with these contracts, and the priorities. But I believe we are moving in the direction. It should be encouraged so that we also see our economy growing faster as we, end the 21st century.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Now, China has become like a role model to the world, and mostly to Africa that is still developing. There are many countries in the African continent that are still developing, that can borrow some learning lessons from China. This is because in just about 4 decades, China was able to evolve and revolutionize everything that was happening there, improving the livelihoods of the many people. Currently, China is one of the most well-built and most advanced in terms of infrastructure country in the world. And just because of that and the steps that they took, they were able to lift out about 800 million people in China out of poverty, something which would really work in the African continent. And most of the African leaders have lauded China for coming out of this state where many people in the country were living in poverty and to becoming the second largest economy in the world. In fact, the president of Senegal is on record saying that indeed China has become the world, or rather Africa's role model, and it is also a beacon of hope for many that will help many people come out of the poverty. And indeed, the forthcoming Forum on China-Africa Cooperation that is going to be held in China in September in Beijing, they are going to be discussing the One Road, One Belt initiative and how the African Union, together with the United Nations and their plans for development in Africa, can be aligned with the One Road, One Belt initiative. We have seen this through the opening up of the transportation system, even here in Kenya. In fact, the SGR is currently under the phase 2A, where they're now expanding from the Nairobi terminus into Naivasha and later into other countries and to other parts of Kenya. This is anticipated and is expected to be ending in 2019.